Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling a totally fascinating paradox that completely flips conventional wealth wisdom right on its head. I mean, when most of us think about preserving massive wealth across multiple generations, our minds immediately jump to, giant stock portfolios, sprawling real estate empires, and just overall savvy investing. But research, it reveals a completely different reality. Preserving dynastic wealth actually requires structured, intentional family governance. Because without a system to actually manage the family itself, well, even the absolute most brilliant investment strategies can completely fall apart. So take a second and really ask yourself, what is your family's wealth really made of, right? We are so conditioned to measure wealth quantitatively, just looking at financial assets, sitting in a bank account, or staring at a brokerage statement. But if we truly want to understand how the most successful, enduring families preserve their legacy, we have to completely challenge that paradigm. Okay, let's dive right into our blueprint for today. First, we'll look beyond just financial wealth, then explore the family governance blueprint, move on to governing the family office, talk about mastering investment oversight, and finally wrap up with philanthropy and lasting legacy. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Beyond Just Financial Wealth, a New Paradigm. So the very first critical mindset shift we need to make before managing complex, multi-generational money is recognizing that enduring families simply don't just focus on the financial capital. Actually, they actively cultivate the other three pillars. They invest heavily in human capital, meaning the health, the education, and the emotional resilience of their family members. They build social capital through really strong relationships and community philanthropy. And they preserve cultural capital by sharing their deeply held values and heritage. Now, it is incredibly difficult to maintain all of this over decades, sure, but human resilience, social community, and cultural heritage are the exact resources you need to replenish and sustain that financial capital over the long haul. Moving on to Section 2, the Family Governance Blueprint, Building the Foundation. Now, here is a pretty profound idea. Before a family office can efficiently manage the money, the family absolutely must learn to manage itself. We're about to get into some formal corporate structures, but the crucial point is this. Families who successfully transfer wealth across generations view their shared values as the ultimate glue binding their members together. Setting up a governance framework requires consensus among family members who, let's be real, might live in entirely different parts of the world and have totally different expectations for the money. A shared mission, whether that's preserving wealth, creating a legacy, or making an immediate social impact, is what actually prevents wealth deterioration and, family conflict. To actually put those values into practice, successful families rely on a structural hierarchy of family governance, and it generally flows sequentially right through these three steps. First up, the family constitution. Second, the family council. And third, the family assembly. Let's establish a clear sense of order and purpose for each of these steps. First up is the family constitution. While a family might think, hey, unwritten agreements are totally fine, a formal constitution provides absolutely vital clarity. It outlines decision-making authority, operational policies, like, say, the hiring criteria for family members who actually want to work for the family office, and essential steps for conflict resolution. Drafting this thing is a highly collaborative process. It's just an amazing opportunity for wealth creators to engage the younger, rising generation. It ensures alignment across all ages and prevents the kind of massive, dramatic disputes that, make for really great television but absolutely terrible family legacies. But listen. Governance isn't just stuffy boardrooms and dry legal documents. The Family Council acts as the formal intermediary dealing with structured family matters. But the broader family assembly? That is where the actual human connection happens. This is where real families share moments, celebrate milestones, and educate the rising generation. It's a much more relaxed forum, often coordinated by the family office, that just keeps everyone informed and beautifully united. Which brings us to Section 3, Governing the Family Office, the Engine. All right, so transitioning from those internal human dynamics to the actual legal entity, families often start with what's called a proto-family office, which is just embedded right inside their operating business. But as complexity scales up, establishing a totally independent family office becomes absolutely crucial. You literally must separate the family governance from your corporate governance to avoid blurring lines and creating messy conflicts. I mean, having Thanksgiving dinner arguments bleed into corporate board meetings is exactly what we want to avoid here, right? And when you look at that independent structure, you see this complex but highly logical chain of command. A board of directors sits right at the top, overseeing the family office entity itself. Beneath that, you've got highly specialized operational arms. the investment policy guiding the investment committee, and dedicated branches for family philanthropy. This crystal clear hierarchy ensures that the family's shared values actually dictate the operational output. Let's take a closer look at that board of directors. Their main job is to oversee the family office's well-being and ensure that management policies are properly implemented. But here is the secret sauce that separates the good from the great. Successful boards are a mix of family members and independent third parties. These independent professionals bring totally objective advice, and frankly, they act as a neutral referee, which massively strengthens the board's overall effectiveness. Now, if a family is deeply concerned about their privacy, they might just start with an interim advisory board that doesn't actually have voting rights. It's a great way to just get comfortable with outside voices before fully integrating them. Moving right along to Section 4, Mastering Investment Oversight, the output. So, one of the board's most critical tasks is delegating responsibilities to an investment committee. Think of this committee as the operational powerhouse. Its primary purpose is to synthesize all those disparate opinions, which, let's face it, are inevitable in literally any family, and execute decisions with crystal clear authority. They operate under a strict charter that dictates their purpose, their responsibilities like determining risk tolerance, their membership qualifications, and exactly how and when they meet. It essentially creates total accountability. Now, to ensure the investment committee makes the right decisions, they follow a foundational document called the Investment Policy Statement, or the IPS. Let's just rapid fire through its key components here. You've got your target asset allocation, the investment time horizon, strict outlines on permitted and prohibited investments, rebalancing guidelines, and of course, parameters for socially responsible investments. The IPS provides a strict but flexible roadmap. It's specific enough to give clear guidance, but dynamic enough to adapt through an annual review as market opportunities pop up and family goals naturally evolve. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Philanthropy and Lasting Legacy. This brings us to the ultimate goal of dynastic wealth. You see, a family office isn't just a conduit for donating funds. It's actually a strategic engine for bringing family values to life. A lot of families have multiple philanthropic buckets, like donor-advised funds, private foundations, or just outright giving. By managing these collectively through the family office, the family does so much more than just save on administrative headaches or optimize their tax strategies. They are actively building their social capital. They shape the profound legacy they leave for their community, and most importantly, they pass on their values, not just their valuables, to the rising generation. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. There's this old adage that wealth goes from shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. Because without structure, the money just disappears. So is your family actively prepared to be a steward of its legacy, or are you just managing a portfolio? The blueprint is right here. Define your values, draft your constitution, empower your committees, and focus on all 4 pillars of your family's capital. If you take these steps, you won't just preserve your wealth, you will empower your family for generations to come. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.